Hi, I'm Amber and welcome to my kitchen. So, before I start doing videos, typically I just wanted to introduce myself um, and tell you a little bit about myself while I make a fried chicken Cobb salad. So, 13 years ago, when I was about 20 years old, I was diagnosed with celiac disease. Um, Growing up, I always had stomach issues. So, I stayed home from school a lot because of my stomach issues, and I also had a weaker immune system and they could never really figure out what was wrong with me. I also had really bad anxiety, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of people with celiac disease have anxiety. um, but right before I got diagnosed at 20, my doctor didn't really understand what was going on, so she did tests and they found out that when they did the blood test that I did have the celiac disease. And then I had to do a endoscopy. And when I did the endoscopy, they found out that all the villi in my intestines were completely flattened. And so from there, I gave up gluten completely. Okay, well, back to the chicken. I just sliced it, and now we're gonna add some gluten-free flour from Target. And I'm gonna season the flour, and I'm also gonna season the chicken. I'm gonna put, I like the grated Parmesan cheese from Walmart. It says gluten-free on it, which I love when that says that because I feel extra safe. Typically, I do Google items that don't say it. Okay. Then I'm gonna add Max's all-purpose seasoning. It's getting kind of low. I need to go buy some more. And then I'm gonna season this chicken with the same seasoning. Okay, just like that. Okay, back to that. After I got diagnosed, I never touched gluten again because I was so afraid to go through that same experience. And with like beginning to join the workforce, like I did not want to miss work like I did miss school because I really did need a job at the time. Looking back, me and my mom have kind of discussed it, and we think that my celiac disease was triggered by stress in my life. And also, I had been in a car accident around the time. And so we think that this triggered the celiac disease mutation. I also did a 23andMe test and on the, like recently, and on there it said that I am prone to having celiac disease, which I found very interesting. And also, none of my other immediate family has celiac disease. Like, none of my sisters have celiac disease. My mom didn't test positive for celiac disease. My dad's family does have a lot of stomach issues, and my grandma tested negative, but my father has not gotten tested. And I feel like if he did get tested, he would also test positive. I also read somewhere that a lot of firstborn children develop celiac disease, which makes a lot of sense for me. And my dad is also a firstborn. Yeah, he definitely has a lot of the same stomach issues I had prior to being diagnosed. But fortunately, I've always loved to cook. So I feel like that has been a blessing for me. I do still eat out a lot. Not a lot. I typically do cook at home, but I eat out occasionally. And the places I do eat out at, I am very careful about, and I do a lot of research prior to going. I love the Find Me Gluten-Free app. It's helped me a lot. I found places when we're out of town, and like I've read all the comments from fellow celiacs, and I really enjoy like being able to see what other people find safe And I feel like it really has not let me down this far. I also have been very, very, very fortunate to have the family around me that I do have and my friends. My friends also. There's only a few people I trust to cook for me, and some of those are my friends. One of my friends' husbands has a gluten allergy, and so she really does get it, and I'm very fortunate for that. Also, my other friend, she'll like completely clean her kitchen, and so we're her mom. Like, they will bleach the whole kitchen counters, everything, just to make sure that I feel safe. And they like Google everything, and then when I get there, they make sure that everything's okay. And I've always felt so safe going there and eating. But it also doesn't mean that I haven't been like subjected to like the harsh jokes or like the not understanding. And it has been difficult for me. Like, I do have a lot of food anxiety when I go out, and it does kind of stink, especially like around new people or situations I don't feel comfortable in. It's hard for me to explain to people, like, okay, like, I do have this disease and I'm not trying to be rude, but this is just something I have to deal with. And I wish people would understand that it ultimately, like, I'm not trying to affect them. I just ultimately do not want to get ill. So I am now going to bread the chicken. I dipped it in egg wash, and now I'm going to put it in that flour dredging. I really have started to love making fried chicken just because I finally feel like I've gotten the hang of it. Because for a while there, it was really rough. And I feel like a good gluten-free flour blend really does make the biggest difference. Bear with me, I'm kind of like nervous since this is one of my first videos where I'm actually talking. Typically, I'm more interested in just sharing my food rather than myself. Okay. Once this is all done, I'm going to heat some oil up in a pan. And I'm also going to start some hard-boiled eggs because I really like hard-boiled eggs in a Cobb salad. So I'm going to get that going, and I'm also going to get some bacon going. And I'm going to put this all in the trash. Time I'll share with you a story about how I got glutened at a restaurant recently. I typically am very careful, and I ask a lot of questions. I probably may annoy wait staff. I'm gonna put some water in this for the eggs. Well, I went to a sushi restaurant, and I love sushi, and it is very hard to find gluten-free sushi. Well, they had Wagyu sushi, and I was really excited, and I had it before. Well, they all of a sudden added soy sauce to the sushi, and I was mortified because I could taste it. And the waiter told me, well, it's only a little bit, like, you'll be fine. And I was like, only a little bit will actually make me very ill. So thank you, but no thank you. And we instantly left, paid the bill, and instantly left. I went home. My boyfriend went and got me activated charcoal. And that's the first time I've ever used activated charcoal. And surprisingly, it did wonders. I also like got it out of my system before I took the activated charcoal. And I did have a little bit of brain fog, but it could have been much worse, I feel like, if I didn't take the activated charcoal. Because I do get very ill when I am cross-contaminated. I'll have like brain fog for 2 weeks, or all these other like stomach issues. Like, my stomach issues will last for 2 weeks, typically, if I get cross-contaminated. It's really miserable. The most extreme is I didn't know that I ingested gluten, and I had eaten some chicken wings that I looked up, and they didn't have any breading on them, and I had eaten them, and they ended up having gluten in them, and I vomited so many times that night. It was unreal. I ended up like being severely dehydrated. I probably should have gone to the doctor, but it was just from unbreaded frozen chicken wings that weren't even flavored, and I was very, very ill. But it just shows like a lot of celiacs have different types of symptoms. I am actually going to move the eggs so that you guys can see me making that fried chicken instead. I have been cooking since I was about 8 years old. My grandma used to buy me all these like recipe cards that would explain to me everything that I needed to do. And my mom used to joke that I was horrible at plating things, which I might still not be the greatest plater. I also just chopped up this bacon pretty thin so that it's easier to cook. Now I need to wash my hands again. Try to cook like typically with less oil, even though tonight I am making something with a little bit of oil. I recently had, well, not recently, about 2 years ago, I had to have my gallbladder removed, and my body is still reacting to not having a gallbladder. It was very similar to celiac symptoms, but since then I've been pretty able to consume oil for the past 3 months. It's like hit or miss sometimes. But yeah, that was not a fun surgery to have. So I try to limit oil just because I do not have a gallbladder. And I do use olive oil. I don't use canola oil anymore just because it really does upset my stomach for the most part. So I'm going to bring those eggs to a boil for about 3 minutes, and then I'm going to cover them for 5. And then I'm going to give them an ice bath. And then once this oil is hot, I'm going to fry that chicken. But ultimately, I just really want to share my passion for cooking, and I hope enjoy it, maybe get some good recipes out of it, maybe feel more encouraged to cook gluten-free if you do have celiac. I know it's hard to go gluten-free. I have a friend who's celiac and she still eats gluten. Her symptoms are different than mine though. She doesn't have like the stomach aches or the headaches or anything like that. She mostly just has the skin issues, which I do get. I get the eczema on my hands, the bumps, but she typically doesn't have that. So I do understand like her not eating it, but I do know how severe celiac disease is, and I just do not encourage people with celiac disease to continue to eat gluten because it is so dangerous. All in. I'm gonna put the bacon in. I have a really large mess going on. It's another thing my mom always tells me, like, I am the messiest cook. Growing up, like, I will tell you, I was the girl that loved food. Like, I would go to my grandma's house and act like I had not eaten, even though I had just had dinner. So once I found out I had celiac disease, I was pretty bummed because every time I would go to a restaurant, I wanted to try something new. And now I feel like eating out, I eat the same exact thing just because I know it's safe. And So at home, when I'm cooking, I do not like to make the same thing twice. There are a few things that I do make over and over, but I typically try not to because I really have always loved to be curious with food and like explore new flavors and tastes. So I try to make authentic dishes because I really do like, ethnic dishes because I really do like ethnic dishes. I like to make Indian food. I like to make Mexican food, Asian food. Um, I really just like to cook everything. Okay. Gonna get this one for chicken. It's frying up quite good. Also, I started doing this just because so many of my friends and coworkers were like, Amber, you're always making such good food. Like, you need to share it with the world. So I ultimately just really want to show my cooking. Okay. Well, all that is cooking. I'm going to put the lid on the eggs now. Cutting out like the toppings for the salad and cutting them so that they are ready. I'm debating if I want red onion or green onion. You want a really good ranch. This one by Lighthouse is incredible, and it's gluten-free. We love it here in this house. I feel like it tastes the most like restaurant ranch. Gonna flip these chickens. I'm getting crispy. I know I'm over here talking about not eating that much oil and I'm making bacon and fried chicken. It's pretty silly. Hopefully my stomach will forgive me afterwards. I'm gonna take this bacon out and try to get it a little less oily. When I make Cobb salads, I typically just buy like the gluten-free frozen chicken, but tonight I really wanted to make it at home. So I'm pretty excited to see how it turns out. Normally I only make fried chicken for chicken parmesan or just fried chicken sandwiches, but I never really make it for anything else. I've also always been obsessed with tomatoes, like the cherry tomatoes. Growing up, my grandma had a garden, and my mom says that I used to just go out there and like have pockets full of tomatoes. It's pretty comical. Okay. I will tell you, I'm always like super impressed by people that cut so nicely. I am definitely not one of those. I'm cooking for a crowd, so I typically make a lot of food, even if it's only for the two of us. I end up making way more because I come from a family of, I'm the oldest of four sisters, and then their boyfriends and my mom, so, and my grandma or my grandpa. I make a lot of food for the family. My mom and my sisters typically don't cook very often. I'm the one that cooks. And I don't know if it's because of my allergy, but I do think it's just easier. And I really do love to cook. Okay. Check the chicken. It's looking quite nice. I do get excited when the breading does work out, because I will not lie, there are times that I'm like, darn, it's all falling off of this chicken. This lettuce. I like this lettuce because it's triple washed, and I don't like wet lettuce. So this lettuce, since being triple washed, if I wash it at home, it gets kind of really wet, and then the salad just doesn't taste the same. Okay, I'm gonna check the chicken again. Okay. Cut these tomatoes. Over here, like barking in the background, I have 2 dogs that I love very much. One is a boxer, and the other is a toy poodle, who's probably the one barking. She's very noisy. She is the first little dog I've owned in my adult life. I normally have only gotten big dogs, and their little dogs' personalities, I will say, are much different than big dogs for sure. She is very much yippy. I had a standard poodle before her, and I loved her so much. Her name was Jezebel. Yeah, she was not yippy at all, but she did bark a lot. So I think it must be a poodle thing for sure. I lived at home when she was here. My mom would get so mad because all she would do was like run around barking. She would like stare at the wall, just barking at stuff. I am the only one that eats onions, so I'm just going to put these off to the side. I do, though, feel like cooking is like my happy place. And people try to like cook with me, and I'm like, no, get out of the kitchen. No thanks. There's me sometimes, so I like to make sure that it's like extra cooked. And look at that. I'm pretty excited. I get really excited for like foods that typically are not gluten-free. There's this place in Oregon that I really want to go to. It's where they make like all these gluten-free fair foods. So like that would be super tasty. That's better. It's also like easier to mix in a bowl like this. Some feta. I love this seasoning. I even put it on my salads. And then some ranch. There you go. Thanks for watching me make this. If you guys have any questions about my journey with celiac disease, or comments, or anything that you would want me to make, please let me know. Thanks, and have a great day.